The excavator next door chewed through earth like a grinder on steel. Scoop, hiss, slam. Rhythm without mercy. Charlie leaned on my porch rail with a beer and a dare. $50 says you won't even make it to her top step. I didn't look at him. I looked at the fence line and the lawn that should have been firm but wasn't. Soft ground. A faint shimmer of standing water where there shouldn't be any. Drainage failure hiding in plain sight. A banner snapped on the fence bright and proud like a lie. I glanced at the Apex residential sign on the fence. Different division. Not my circus, not my monkeys. I built skyscrapers, not condos. Renata Albright stepped onto her porch like a beam already preloaded straight under stress, no sag. Navy cap. Red jersey over a white tank. Eyes on the trench like she was measuring it with anger. My pulse ticked once sharp. Jaw tight. The reflex you get when a load swings too close and you have 1 second to decide if it clears. Charlie smirked. Charlie, go on, ask her out. I observe, I said. I don't perform. Still I crossed the yard. The ground gave under my boots. A hidden void. A future problem. Renata didn't come down. She waited at the top step. What? I'm Carter, your neighbor. I kept my voice flat. Coffee, dinner. Something that isn't you staring down that trench. Renata's mouth curved, not friendly. Look, Carter. I don't have time for a neighbor date with a guy who thinks charm fixes structural failures. She pointed at my chest like she was marking a defect. So unless you have a solution for 5 tons of shifting limestone, you better not waste my time. She turned to go inside. The limestone isn't the problem, I said. Renata froze. Excuse me. The wall is taking load it was never designed to take, I said, nodding toward the retaining wall along her side yard. Water load? Hydrostatic pressure? When water has nowhere to relieve, pressure rises fast. If it spikes again, that wall won't slide. It'll punch. Renata's eyes sharpened like she'd just heard a frequency she recognized. 10 minutes later, I was in her backyard tape measure out mud on my boots, because problems don't wait for polite schedules. A man in a beige suit stood on wet ground with clean shoes like physics didn't apply. Vance. This is Vance, Renata said, voice controlled. He represents the group trying to buy me out. Vance offered a hand. I left it hanging. Miss Albright, he said smoothly. The offer stands until midnight. Renata's grip tightened on a folder. I'm not selling. Sentiment is expensive, Vance replied, smile thin. Take the money, walk away, avoid liability. Renata looked at me, not him. This house is my office, my staging area. My crews load materials out of the garage, and it's collateral. She tapped the folder. Equipment loans. Trenchers, compactors, a small loader. Personal guarantees. If the city tags this place, my loan covenants trigger. Lines freeze. The bank takes the machines. My company dies. Vance's eyes gleamed. He already knew the weak point. Midnight, he repeated, and walked off, phone up. Renata exhaled once sharp. Before you say, call the city, I did. I filed complaints. The inspector says the project meets grade. Apex says my wall is old. Everyone points. I'm not here to point, I said. Show me the failure. Renata hesitated like she didn't trust a man who spoke in calm sentences. Then she turned and led me toward the retaining wall. By late afternoon, the sky turned bruised dark. Wind loaded the system. A storm was coming in, hard and fast. Renata stopped at the wall. Damp stains bled along the base like bruising. After the last storm, water came through the joints, she said. My basement smelled like wet gypsum. I crouched and pressed my palm to stone. Cold, saturated. A wall shouldn't feel like a sponge. Where does their runoff go? I asked. South culvert, Renata said. On paper. I moved to a bent section of fence and looked. Their grade was wrong, subtle, but wrong. Water would run straight into her property like a deliberate channel. I pulled out my phone, opened the level tool, then shook my head. Not enough. I went back to my house, grabbed my laser level and a folding rod. Came back in under a minute. Renata watched me set it up. You just have that. I don't like guessing, I said. The laser line cut clean across the yard. The rod reading on their side was higher than it should be, but only by inches. Inches were enough. A crack snapped stone, not thunder. Renata's head whipped. Her breath caught. The wall bulged an inch along a long joint. Load shift. Failure initiating. Inside, I said. Renata started to argue. I closed a firm hand around her wrist, guiding, not yanking. She met my eyes, saw no room for debate, and moved. Agency doesn't need speeches. It needs clarity. Basement air hit damp and metallic. A thin sheet of water crept across the concrete floor toward boxes and sample boards. The sump pump coughed and died. Renata stared at it like betrayal. It was new. New doesn't mean protected, I said. Breaker tripped. I reset it. The pump sputtered back weak. Not enough, I muttered, already running to my garage. I came back with a portable utility pump cord and a bucket of fittings. I set the intake, primed it, and kicked it on. The pump roared, and water began to retreat. Renata moved fast, lifting boxes, stacking samples, saving what mattered. She didn't panic. She reorganized under pressure like she'd done it before. Then the lights flickered once. Twice. I killed the basement breaker with a clean motion. No sparks in water, I said. Renata swallowed. If the wall goes, it won't, I said. Not because I was sure, because someone in the room had to be. Outside, rain hit hard. Immediate. The kind that turns soil into slurry and turns small mistakes into collapses. Through the small basement window, I saw a worker staple a bright notice to the fence on her side. Renata tore it down when we went upstairs. Her face went white. Condemnation notice, she said. They're saying my wall is unsafe. I scanned it. City letterhead. A signature that looked printed. A timeline that made no sense. Too fast, I said. Too convenient. Morning sun made the damage obvious. Her yard looked needed. A faint sink line ran parallel to the wall. The wall hadn't failed, but it had spoken. I shot elevations with my laser, and string-marked stakes wrote numbers on tape like a ledger. You've got a grade inversion, I said. Their side is higher than it should be. The runoff is being delivered right to your wall. Renata's eyes narrowed. Even if you're right, Apex won't listen. And I'm not signing anything from your company. I'm not here as Apex, I said. You work for Apex, she shot back. Commercial. Mega structures, I said. Residential doesn't brief me. I don't chase their schedules. I kept it blunt. That's why I didn't connect it until I saw the banner. Renata's stare held testing. Then she looked away like she hated that it made sense. A car door shut. Vance walked up with a clipboard and a man holding a camera. We're documenting the unsafe condition, Vance said, voice bright. Liability needs records. Get off my property, Renata snapped. I'm on the easement, Vance said, smooth as oil. And still offering a clean exit. One tag from the city and your loan covenants trigger. Lines freeze, crews walk. You lose everything. Renata's fist clenched. She stepped forward, anger rising like pressure without relief. I stepped half a stride in front of her, quiet, protective positioning. Possessive protection without theatrics. Back up, I said to Vance. You're not documenting. You're shaping a story. Vance's gaze slid to my Apex badge clip on my belt. Interesting, he said softly. Apex employees meddling in private property disputes. I'm not meddling, I said. I'm measuring. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. You can't out-stubborn a bank, Mr. Hayes. Miss Albright's address is her choke point, and you can't fix that. Renata's throat worked. She didn't deny it. I kept my tone level. You're betting on collapse. I'm betting on inevitability, he replied, smiling. Midnight. He walked away. Renata's shoulders dipped a fraction. He's right. If the city tags the house, I'm done. I can't just leave. I can't absorb this. Then we don't let them control the record, I said. We prove cause, drainage, hydrostatic pressure, survey accuracy. We turn their story into math. Renata stared at me like I'd offered to hold up a collapsing roof with bare hands. Fine, she said. But I don't want hero speeches. I want results. Good, I said. So do I. Renata's voice dropped. So what we go to the police? The city. You think that fixes it? If you call the police, they call it civil. I said. If you push the city too hard, Vance accelerates the tag and your bank triggers default. He already has the paperwork ready. That's his leverage. We don't fight his leverage with emotion. We fight it with proof. Renata's eyes held mine. So we build a case first. We build it fast, I said, before the next storm loads the wall again. That afternoon, a city inspector arrived, a clipboard reflective vest board expression. Vance was right behind him, like a shadow that paid taxes. The inspector tapped the wall with a knuckle like he was checking a watermelon. Looks compromised, he said, based on what Renata asked. Visible bulge, he said. Seepage. Safety risk. I stepped in calm. Do you have pre-construction photos, baseline surveys, any hydrostatic relief checks, weep hole inspection, backfill composition tests? The inspector blinked. He wasn't used to being questioned with specifics. Vance cut in. Mr. Hayes is not a party to this. I'm a neighbor, I said, eyes on the inspector. And I'm asking you to do your job with data. If you tag this house today, you trigger a business collapse over a problem caused next door. The inspector's mouth tightened. Sir, I follow procedure. Procedure requires evidence, I said, and I handed him printed readings from my laser line. Here are elevations. Here are slope directions. Here is where water is being delivered. The inspector hesitated, not convinced, but slowed. Slow was time. Time was leverage. Re-inspection in 48 hours, he said finally. Temporary tag withheld. For now. Renata didn't breathe until he walked away. We worked like a team built under pressure rolls, clear waste, minimal. I marked grades. Renata mapped runoff paths and soil behavior. She pinched earth between her fingers. High clay content, she said. Holds water, heavy when saturated. If they compact it wrong, it becomes a bathtub. Then the wall becomes a lever with a bad fulcrum, I said. Pressure builds until something yields. Renata watched me draw sections and arrows. You talk like you're explaining a crush. I'm explaining load, I said. Same mechanics, different stakes. That night she made lasagna. The edges were burnt crisp. The middle was perfect. Overbuilt perimeter protected core. We ate at her kitchen island with plans spread out and a laptop open. Her home was her headquarters, sample boards, invoices, a schedule whiteboard with crew names, an address carrying the full weight of her company. After dinner, Renata slid my structural sketch back to me. Teach me, she said. Load paths. I need to speak your language in that hearing. I drew clean lines. This is lateral earth pressure. This is surcharge. This is water load. Hydrostatic pressure adds here. Linear with depth. The wall doesn't fail because it's old. It fails because someone changed the environment. Renata leaned in, eyes locked on the drawing. Close enough that I caught the scent of garlic and smoke. And what's relief? She asked. Drainage, I said. Weep holes, a French drain behind the wall, proper aggregate geotextile, and most important, stop the water from being delivered. Renata took the pencil. And if the soil is clay drains, need a medium that doesn't hold water. Gravel fabric root systems that knit the slope. She looked up, focused, steady. She was holding up under a load that would buckle typical steel. That line hit my brain like a clean calculation. Useful. True. After we cleaned the plates, Renata grabbed a thick binder of old site plans and set it on the counter. "Okay," she said. "Quiz me." I flipped to a section cut. Read it. Renata squinted. "Footing. 8 inches. No 8 feet." I didn't laugh. I just slid my finger to the scale and tapped. Units. Always check units. 1 bad unit and a bridge falls. Renata blew out a breath, annoyed at herself. Again, I said. 10 minutes later, she was calling out terms, clean stem wall backfill surcharge, like she'd owned them for years. Her eyes were bright, competitive. Then she shoved a mason jar of soil samples toward me. 3 layers dark topsoil, tan sand gray clay. "Your turn," she said. "Tell me which layer kills the wall." I held the jar up to the light. "The gray. It holds water. It's load that doesn't drain." Renata's smile flashed, quick, proud. "Good. You can learn." I caught myself watching her mouth. I stopped. Focus is a discipline. Later, when I carried trash out, I saw a glint in the grass, half buried in mud. A silver hair clip. I picked it up. Cold metal. Simple design, practical. Like her. I slid it into my pocket. The next day, while we measured again, Renata paused by the fence. "You really don't care about residential," she said, watching the Apex banner. "I care about what affects my work," I replied. "Residential isn't supposed to." Renata's eyes narrowed. Until it does, I agreed. Friday, an Apex Digest hit my inbox. I nearly deleted it. Residential wasn't my lane. One line stopped me: Rivergate Residences. Grade revision approved. Rivergate was next door. I opened the attachment. The benchmark reference point, benchmark B, had been shifted. A survey error, but not accidental. With the new numbers, runoff didn't go south. It ran straight into Renata's yard, pooling at her wall like a deliberate load. My stomach tightened like a bolt torquing past spec. I went to Marcus's office with the file printed and my face controlled. Marcus looked up. "Carter, what's this?" "Residential changed, benchmark B," I said, laying the paper down. "Their drainage now routes into private property. It's causing hydrostatic pressure against a retaining wall. It's going to fail if we get another storm." Marcus stared at the page, then leaned back. "Residential isn't your division." "The water doesn't care," I said. Marcus's eyes flicked to the door. "This is political." "Don't get involved." "Math isn't political," I said. Marcus's jaw tightened. "Residential PM says the old wall was compromised. They're within permit." "Within permit doesn't mean within physics," I said. "If the wall fails, it becomes our incident." Marcus's voice dropped. "Carter, not your circus." I stared at him. I heard my own sentence from beat 1 and it tasted like rust. I left without arguing. Arguing wastes time. I drove home hard. Renata was on the phone, voice clipped. "No, I can't move the office. The equipment loans are tied to this address." She saw me and ended the call. "What?" "Apex Residential Revised Grade," I said, holding up the printout. "They changed benchmark B. That survey error reroutes runoff into your yard." Renata went still. "You're sure I don't speak unless I'm sure I said." "They force hydrostatic pressure, label your wall unsafe, then buy you cheap. Vance isn't here for a friendly offer. He's here to cover their numbers with your bankruptcy." Renata swallowed once. "So what now? Now we get their own files," I said, "and we make it impossible to deny." Evidence lived on residential servers. I didn't have official access. I drove to the Apex office at midnight anyway. Badge still worked. For now. Residential directories threw up access denied. I opened the old cross-division audit tool, read-only meant for risk checks when projects overlap. A red banner flashed, unauthorized access detected. Security alert triggers in 60 seconds, unless verified. My pulse sped up, not fear timing. I requested a temporary audit token. The prompt demanded justification. I typed adjacent property failure risk. Hydrostatic pressure grade inversion. Immediate review required. Countdown 52, 51. No response. At 40 seconds, I considered walking out, keeping my job, letting Renata collapse under a load that wasn't hers. I didn't. At 33 seconds, the token pinged back. Temporary audit token granted. Read only. 10 minutes. All activity recorded. Fine. Recorded meant accountable. I didn't browse. I hunted grade revision survey logs, approval chain email thread. I moved like a man disarming a timer, no wasted clicks. There it was, an email, adjust benchmark B to redirect runoff off-site. Keep it clean. Off-site meant Renata. The system opened the residential server, and a new warning slid across the top activity monitored. Escalation triggers on prohibited directories. I kept to the scope. Grade revisions, survey logs, approvals, nothing else. No payroll, no HR, no distractions. My cursor moved like a scalpel. A second banner blinked at the bottom, unauthorized access alert pending. 15 seconds. I didn't have 15 seconds to second guess. I exported the email thread, then the benchmark change log, then the drainage diagram approvals. Click Save Screenshot Print. The alert timer hit 0. Nothing happened, which meant someone had overridden the alert, someone watching, deciding whether to let me hang myself or let me walk out with the proof. I captured screenshots with timestamps and printed everything. Physical proof. Paper doesn't vanish with a server wipe. At minute 9, my screen locked. Remote admin override. Contact security. Someone was awake. Footsteps hit the hall outside my cubicle. Fast. I took the hot packet from the printer and walked out like I belonged there. Calm face, straight spine, no running. Running admits guilt before anyone says a word. A security guard rounded the corner as I reached the elevator. His eyes narrowed. I lifted my badge. Night audit, I said. He hesitated just a second, then his radio crackled with someone else's voice. I stepped into the elevator as the doors closed. In the lobby, my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus Residential called, "We need to talk." The crash wasn't the alarm. The crash was what it cost. Town hall was packed, Vance with lawyers, Apex reps in suits, Marcus in the front row, posture stiff. Renata sat alone at the petitioner's table, composed, but her knee bounced once under the table load leaking through. I sat beside her. "I brought steel," I said, tapping the folder. Vance spoke first, slick and confident. "Unsafe wall. Liability, condemnation. Miss Albright refuses reasonable offers." Apex echoed, "We followed approved plans." Then I stood. "My name is Carter Hayes," I said. "Apex engineer, commercial megastructures. I'm here as an independent expert witness." Marcus's jaw tightened. "You're not authorized. I'm not speaking for Apex." I cut in, voice flat. "I'm speaking for physics." I handed copies to the clerk. Residential documents, grade revisions, survey logs, approval emails. They show benchmark B was deliberately adjusted, creating a survey error that rerouted runoff into Miss Albright's property. Vance rose. "Objection. Improperly obtained." "Read the numbers," I said, and slid the email screenshot forward. "Then argue." I turned to the panel. Drainage follows grade. With the revised benchmark, runoff concentrates at her wall. Hydrostatic pressure rises linearly with depth. That adds lateral load the wall was never designed to take. That's why it bulged. That's why her basement flooded. That's why a condemnation notice appeared overnight. Vance pivoted, trying to turn me into the villain. "So this is revenge," he said loud enough for the room. A disgruntled employee stealing files to impress a woman. I didn't blink. If I wanted to impress her, I'd bring flowers. I brought elevations. He waved a hand at my packet. "Unauthorized access. Unreliable." "The access is logged," I said. "The data is time-stamped. And the water on her basement floor is more reliable than your marketing brochure." A few people in the room let out small breaths, half laughs, half relief. I drew a simple diagram on a blank sheet and held it up. A rectangle wall, arrows pushing. "This," I said, tapping the arrows, "is hydrostatic pressure. Pressure equals unit weight of water times depth. Increase depth, increase load. If you keep delivering runoff to the backfill, you raise the water table, you raise the pressure, and the wall yields. That isn't romance, it's math." Vance opened his mouth again. The chairwoman cut him off. "Mr. Hayes has provided documentation. Mr. Vance, unless you can refute the benchmark change, sit down." A city engineer leaned in, eyes narrowing on the printouts. "These elevations, where did you measure them on site?" I said. "Laser level staked, documented. Here are the readings. Here are the photos of the rod position. If anyone wants to verify, I'll do it again in front of the city." The chairwoman's gaze sharpened. "Mr. Hayes, are you alleging intent?" I held up the email. "Adjust benchmark B to redirect runoff off-site. Keep it clean." "That's intent." The room went quiet. The chairwoman conferred, then spoke. "Hearing suspended pending investigation. Condemnation denied. Apex must halt excavation adjacent to the wall and install temporary drainage relief under city supervision." Renata exhaled long and controlled, like a structure settling after shoring. In the hallway, Marcus caught my arm. "You're done." I didn't flinch. "Then I'm done." Renata stepped in close, shoulder brushing mine, choosing not hiding. I pulled the silver hair clip from my pocket and held it out. "You dropped this," I said. Renata's eyes widened. "You kept it." "I keep what matters," I said. "I didn't want Vance watching you lose anything." Her fingers closed around the clip. They brushed mine and stayed a beat longer, clear signal. Renata looked up. "Carter." Why I looked at her, the stress lines at her eyes, the way she stayed upright anyway. "Because you're the strongest thing I know," I said. "And I don't tear down strong things, I support them." Renata's hand caught my wrist. She pulled me in the last inch. The kiss hit like impact, with alignment force control mutual. When we broke, her forehead stayed near mine. Apex fired me Monday. No ceremony. A folder, a signature line. Marcus couldn't meet my eyes. "Policy," he said. "Convenience," I replied. I walked out with my box and my spine intact. That afternoon, Renata called me from her yard. "City crew's here," she said. "They're installing temporary relief." I came over anyway. The crew cut a narrow trench behind the wall. They laid perforated pipe gravel geotextile. Water finally had an exit. Renata watched the first stream drain out, like she was watching a pressure gauge drop. "That's it," she said softly. "That's what I needed." "Relief," I said. "Every system needs it." Renata looked at the wall, then at me. "You don't flinch," she said. "I flinch later," I answered, "when the numbers stop moving." Her eyes softened, then steadied again, respect settling into place like a tightened bolt. A city engineer approached me quieter now. "Your testimony saved us a lawsuit," he said. "We'll need you for the investigation." "I'm available," I said. "I'm not employed. That makes me useful." Renata's eyes flicked to me, respect clear and unforced. The kind male audiences stay for. When the crew left, Renata stood beside me at the wall. "You lost your job," she said. "I didn't lose my work," I replied. Her hand slid to my forearm, gripping once firm. She didn't apologize. She anchored. "Come over tonight," she said. "Request or constraint?" I asked. Renata's eyes flashed. "My choice." "Good," I said. "I like clear variables." 2 weeks later, the yard was drying the way it should. The wall held. The slope held. Drainage lines finally had an outlet. I was on my porch fixing a railing when Renata crossed the lawn, no hesitation at the line. She held up a key on a simple ring. "My shower head is leaking," she said. I took the key. "Job offer no," she said. "A dare." She pressed it into my palm and didn't let go right away. "I dare you to come over," she whispered. "And stay." Inside I knelt, replaced the worn washer, reseated the threads, torqued it to spec. Water on. No leak. Renata watched from the doorway like she was watching a bridge being built. "You fix things," she said. "I reinforce," I corrected. She stepped in close hand, gripping my shirt, once firm, decisive. Not pleading, choosing. I covered her hand with mine. "I don't tear down strong things. I support them," I said. Renata lifted her chin. "Then support me." I waited a beat. She nodded, clear signal. We met halfway. Collision under control. Mutual. Outside, an excavator started somewhere far away. Not next door, not here. This house held. So did we.